We are going to talk about Maya Angelou, but also because we are ending Black History Month, going into Women's History Month. So Maya Angelou is my personal favorite, and I got this book that tells her story, and what I'm going to be doing is just giving you a little bit of insight on what Maya Angelou thought when she was growing up and some of the things that she wrote about in her story. This book is called I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. Maya Angelou, as you know, she's an artist, she's a poet, she's a performer. What we're going to discuss are some of the pain that she felt, some of the anxieties that she had being a Black girl from the South. What she wrote on the last sentence of the intro of her book, it says, "If growing up is painful for the Southern Black girl, being aware of her displacement is the rust on the razor that threatens the throat." And then the last sentence is, "It is an unnecessary insult." But she had this imagination that the world would love and appreciate her better if she was a white woman. So that's pretty much the introduction. It talks about her self-hate, feeling as if she was a white woman, she would be celebrated and praised. And she would have these dreams of having blue eyes, blonde hair, and everyone praising her. And she would wake up and feel like she was living a nightmare. You already kind of get an idea of where her headspace was mentally. But then as the story goes on, we get to learn a little bit about her family life. So she has a brother, and she also had other family members that were caring after her. They had a business that they all worked in that was owned by a white person. And she also had a uncle. The word lame is used as a way to describe a disabled person. So when we think of the word lame, we're thinking uncool, but really lameness means someone who is unable. It says here, "The tragedy of lameness seems so unfair to children that are embarrassed in its presence." They would have to see their uncle's disability, and even though they might have been embarrassed, there was not much they can do. And her mother used what he'd been through as a kid as an excuse to say, "This is how he is." They said that a babysitter dropped him on his head and that's how he became disabled. "I saw him pretend to himself and others that he wasn't lame." So sometimes he would get into modes where he would want to trick himself and act like he was not a disabled person. Typically, he was very prideful of his disability, and he used it as an ego because he knew that people would always be looking at him kind of strange. So something that I thought was interesting is her love for poets and the people that inspired her to write. So it says here, "William Shakespeare was my first white love. I enjoyed and respected Kipling, a white guy, Edgar Allan Poe, another white guy, Octavia E. Butler, a Black woman, William Makepeace Thackeray, a white guy, William Ernest Henley, another white guy." And then it says, "I had young, loyal passion for Paul Laurence Dunbar, a Black man, Langston Hughes, Black man, James Weldon Johnson, Black man, and W.E.B. Du Bois." These are all Black men poets. So to end Black History Month, I thought it would be important to mention that although Maya Angelou did have a thing for white people, white fondness, white acceptance, she did also like Black poets as well. And so those Black poets that I mentioned at the end were the people that she admired when she was young. And she says she had a young, loyal passion for. It says here, "It was Shakespeare who said, 'When in disgrace with fortune in men's eyes, it was a state of which I felt myself most familiar. I pacified myself about his whiteness by saying that after all he had been dead so long, it couldn't matter to anyone anymore.' We realized that Mama would question us about the author and that we'd have to tell her that Shakespeare was white and it wouldn't matter to her whether he was dead or not. So we chose The Creation by James Weldon Johnson instead." Basically, she didn't want her mother to know that she was fascinated by a white man because they would have gotten in trouble for that. I'm gonna read the quote again It says, when in disgrace with fortune and men's eyes. I think that says a lot. Fortune with disgrace and men's eyes. It's like no matter how disgraceful she felt, she still had the eyes and attention of men. And as it says here, it was a state with which I felt myself most familiar. So she understood what it felt to have disgrace, yet to be seen in the eyes of so many men. So I'm gonna stop here with Maya Angelou's story, and we will reconvene in Women's History Month. We're gonna talk more about her story, and I'm going to get back into the Talk to Win series. But I just wanted to end Black History Month and go into Women's History Month with some Black poets. I will be back with another video. Just subscribe, stay tuned, and be ready for the next lesson, all right? Until next time, I'm here to school you fools, all right? And I'm out.